One of my biggest pet peeves, probably the biggest pet peeve of all time, is when someone who doesn't know what the fuck they're talking about is giving advice as if they know what the fuck they're talking about. There's not much that actually bothers me more than that. In fact, I don't even think anything actually does bother me more than that. Now, as it relates to barbell presses for the chest, and when I say barbell presses for the chest, I'm talking about either on a flat bench, slight incline, or slight decline, where you're lowering the bar across the chest. If the bench is too high or too low, you're not lowering the bar across the chest, you're lowering the bar to where the chest is geographically located on your body. So as it relates to barbell presses for the chest, how low is too low? There's a lot of advice being given in terms of should you stop before you get to the chest or should you go all the way down? Some people will say you should stop before you get to the chest, and then you ask them why, and then they'll say, well, because it's bad or dangerous to go beyond a certain point. And you say, well, why is it bad or dangerous? And they can't really explain it. And if they can't explain it, they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. And if they don't know what the fuck they're talking about, they shouldn't be talking in the first place. There's a reason why it could be bad and it could be dangerous. And I'll tell you why. But a lot of people don't get the right answers in life because they don't ask the right questions. So as it relates to how low is too low, I've written out the right questions for you. You can make the best decision for yourself based on these answers on whether or not you want to go all the way down. Because if you do, at least now you'll know the risk involved. So the first question, what's the shortest distance between 2 points? That's a simple one. What are the 2 points of reference? When we're talking about 2 points of a muscle, it's only 2 points we're really talking about. At which point of elongation is the straight line lost and the stretch considered excessive? So I just answered the first question there, in case you didn't catch that. But the answer is, once again, straight line is the shortest distance between 2 points. Origin and insertion are the 2 points we're talking about when we're talking about a muscle. And below parallel is the point of elongation where the straight line is lost and the stretch is considered excessive as it relates to barbell presses for the chest. So let's take a look at this real quick. When we're doing a barbell press for the chest, we're probably trying to target the sternal head of the pec. Starts on the sternum, finishes in the upper arm. There's a straight line right there between those 2 points. If I lower my if I lower the bar all the way down to my chest, what's going to happen is my elbow's going to go behind my body. That straight line is lost because the pec wraps around the rib cage, and therefore the stretch could be considered excessive because the muscle's now no longer in position to do its job. The sternal head of the pec, its job is to bring the upper arm towards the midline of the body. If you lower too far, it has to pull itself forward just to do its job. So there's a risk involved here. We'll get a little more in depth. Lowering the bar beyond parallel forces the pec to bend around the rib cage, disforming the straight line between origin and insertion. I just told you that. The pec becomes responsible for pulling the arm forward, not inward, encouraging it to dislocate. I just told you that. This type of joint distortion is magnified in proportion to the weight used, especially in combination with the rapid lowering and explosive reversal. This pulls the humerus forward. It can do soft tissue damage in the shoulder. You could dislocate the joint entirely, or you could tear the pec. Now, the heavier you go, the more you're going to magnify that effect if you lower all the way down and you pull the pec out of that straight line position in which it can no longer do the job that it was designed to do. The faster you lower the bar, momentum's going to increase the weight to overcome, because as the bar's coming down faster and faster and faster, it's going to be relatively heavier and heavier and heavier and harder to reverse the movement. So you're increasing the demand on the muscle in the position in which it's going to be weakest, because number one, muscle's capacity to produce force is at its highest when it's at or near its mid-range. When it's in its fully shortened, fully lengthened position is when its capacity is lowest. And you take that in combination with the fact that it's being bent around the rib cage, it now has to do another job just to be able to do its job. You're increasing the risk of injury. So when people tell you to stop at parallel and that beyond that is bad or dangerous and they can't fucking answer that, they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. They got no right talking, but they are sort of onto something. If you don't know, now you know, though, as to why it could be bad to go all the way down. So this isn't to suggest that you shouldn't go all the way down. Ronnie Coleman went all the way down. I'm pretty sure he didn't have any pec tears. Powerlifters go all the way down, albeit they do modify the way they do the exercise so that they're not actually wrapping the pec around the rib cage. So it's not that going all the way down is bad, but rather if you're going to, this is the real risk involved. So that's something that I wanted to share, because a lot of people are giving advice that do not know what the fuck they're talking about. Whether the advice is good or not, that's debatable. But if you don't know what you're talking about, you got no right talking in the first place. So all those people who didn't know why it might be bad or dangerous, there's your answers. You like the information, share it, click the fucking button at the bottom, subscribe to the channel, and you don't even got to ask. You already know who's going to keep bringing you the best information as it relates to training to get stronger and build bigger muscles.